Catherine made it.
I sure did. Just got back from walking the dog.
That's awesome.
Ready for the daily dose.
I went for a short walk as well. I'm going to go to the gym right after this for 30 minutes and then have meetings.
Nice.
How have you been?
It's been a ride.
That's a good thing.
Yes, it is. But I'm ready to get going in real estate. So I'm taking my daily dose every morning to get me motivated and let's get some deals going.
Love it. Well, I can tell it's July 4th week. It's just me and you and Tiffany and John, but they're on our leadership team. They don't count.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
well, good.
mean, I always count. I just
I was waiting for that.
like to be a silent observer in the back.
That's what I was waiting for right there.
It's like you knew exactly what to say to just get my
And it
attention.
would pop, look at that. Now we've got three on camera. See how easy this is?
I'm gonna probably get off camera again.
I think you
Listen.
stop, Catherine.
Oh, come on. I'm just hearing my dog walking outfit with a hat on.
This is how it works. We've worked together for 10 years, you know that?
No, that's
Nine,
awesome.
not even 10, 9, but still.
Like 15.
Huge
Every day he adds like a year. Well, it feels like it. Every day feels like another year.
Hey Tiffany, did I think it was Shenandoah that told you about my KW Cares experience.
Yeah, she did mention to me that she was like, Catherine was sitting there. And I was like, why did she speak up? She's like, she will in time.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
I mean, it becomes such a long conversation that
Yeah.
it's like maybe you and I can sit down, you, me, and Shenandoah can sit down and
Yeah.
talk about it sometime and make it something.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's Houston. I have a sister-in-law that lives in Houston. Her house got flooded twice around that time, and she
Oh,
had just had a baby. And like, I mean, she had to evacuate and leave her dogs, and thankfully they all survived. But
oh
it's
my
like she
gosh.
was like 9 months pregnant, and like her husband's a nurse at the whatever big hospital downtown. So he
Uh-huh.
was stuck there for days.
Oh my gosh,
It
it's
was
terrible.
Houston
Yeah.
got Houston was brutal for sure.
Yeah, yeah. We were in Katy, so we were they call it the upstream.
Yeah.
So they kept the gates of the reservoir closed, which meant that they flooded our houses on purpose. So we're
Yeah.
still in a lawsuit on that one. So it's been 8 years.
8 years.
Just, I
Yeah,
mean, as if we didn't learn enough from Katrina. Like, what are we doing?
I know. I know. It's been ridiculous. But we had to walk out of our house because there were so many older people in our neighborhood that were like, if boats show up. And a friend of mine showed up with a boat, and I was like, just go rescue the old people. We'll walk out. But we just rescued our dog. He's scared of water, so that was
Yeah.
fun.
We rescued a dog, our dog, one of her dogs from Houston, and it was like a thunderstorm came. I mean, he tore our house to, he was the gentlest dog. He tore our house to shreds anytime it
Yeah,
thundered.
yeah.
Anyway, we could talk.
Anyway,
We'll catch up on that.
yeah.
All right, Catherine, we're going to go through it since we recorded this and put it out. So we'll use this time for me and you, but I also have a couple of ideas that I think are timely given the time period. Like we're 6 months into the year. We've got another 6 months to hit whatever goal that we set. I'm a big advocate of like quarterly goals or 6 month goals. I'm not a big annual goal guy. I have annual goals for sure. Yet, for me and my mindset, I know that I'm going to change everything probably every 3 months, right? So, I think goal setting or reviewing or resetting and recalibrating after a certain period of time in pursuit of a longer term goal is an important concept, at least for me. So, that's the perspective that I bring when I'm thinking about where am I and where do I want to go, right? So, like for example, do you have a goal for the next 6 months? I mean, you're a perfect example of this. You had a 6 month, let's call it a 6 month transition here in 2025 into Charleston, and now moving into the end of the year, you're ready to kick off your real estate business in Charleston, growing that while also maintaining some of the things that you're doing in Houston. So if you were to think about a goal, do you have a goal for, say, the dollar amount that you want to create or the units that you want to sell or what your business has to look like or you intend it to look like by the end of the year?
So for me, it's always been a dollar amount. I've never done units because I was lucky enough in Houston to have a higher price. I think my average was like 5 or 600,000, which for Houston is pretty good. And probably in the last year was more like 6 or 7. So to hit my goals, it didn't mean lots of units, which I prefer because that's how I work better because I'm more like a luxury, hands-on luxury experiences. I'm Yeah, I have a number in mind that I would like to do in the last 6 months, especially now that I'm finding out what stuff costs around here.
Oh yeah.
A little bit of a shock, but I do struggle a little bit with how to execute it because it's very different here than it is in Houston. I had a much bigger office with tons and tons of listings. So I was trying to set an open house for this weekend in Mount Pleasant or IOP, just because those are the two areas that I know. Let's start with an area that I know. And I just didn't find a whole lot out there. Now I have one set up for Saturday, um, but I think that's going to have to be my way of building my database because I literally know no one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and it's kind of a cool place to start, right? Because it does two things. One, you can find authentic ways to build relationships from a friendship standpoint first.
Yeah,
And then the second thing then that parlays into is potential business or just a larger database to invite people in cool, authentic, simple ways to different things that you're doing to then drive more people, right? Like I
right.
was listening to a book the other day and they talked about they were talking about relationship and like adult friendship specifically, and they talked about the amount of hours it takes to create just some sort of relationship, be it 76 hours for, let's call it a relationship or a friendship, right? It was
Okay.
fascinating. um 76 hours for like some sort of one-to-one contact, right?
Yeah,
And for a close friend, it's pretty much 200 plus hours. So if
right.
your best friend in your head, like that's 200 plus hours of time, which is interesting to me. Originally, I said what you just said. That's all. But 76 hours, like, first off, that's three some days, right? I'm not real good at math, but that's 3 days.
Yeah,
And of just one-to-one relation, like one-to-one contact. I mean, I think about how many hours I've spent with, say, Tiffany. I've spent a tremendous amount of time with Tiffany over a 9-year period, right? But when I think about the accumulation of that, like maybe an hour a day, like
yeah,
maybe there are some weeks where we might spend 1 hour on the phone together. And then
right.
other weeks where we might spend 8 hours on the phone together or 10
Right.
or sitting in the office, right? So I think it's interesting to think about. I think the most important piece of that puzzle is the way in which I'm doing it and then how I compound those friendships, right?
Right.
In your situation, it's about compounding because for you to grow a database of, say, 200 people in the next 6 months, one-to-one, that takes time.
Yeah,
But if I can take one and then compound that one to three because they brought two friends to go on a walk down by the beach, or they took two friends and we went golfing together, or whatever you like to do, right?
yeah,
Now all of a sudden I went from one to three and I skipped the one to two,
yeah.
right? And I think that's scale and that's efficiency when we think of things in that way. So I'll give you a couple of concepts and then we can talk about them. The first are um, the 3 steps to achievement. And I'm big on this right now because, again, it's July 1. We're usually evaluating what did we do so far in the year? What was my goal for the year? And then where am I going? Like, what do I have to adjust? And I always say that the more we are aware of where we are and where we're going, the faster we can get somewhere. It's like if I set out from here to Houston and I didn't put it into a GPS. I just drove west. First off, I'm probably going to run into some water. Second, I'm probably not going to get there in the typical, whatever it is, 20 hours that it takes to drive from here to Houston. I'm probably going to get there in a couple of days because I have no idea where I'm going. I'm just hoping that west is the right direction. Whereas if I was to check the map every hour, I would get there, but I probably wouldn't get there in the most efficient manner possible, right? I would probably get there after that typical 20 hours, whatever the time period is. Now, if I checked it every millisecond, like the autopilot on a plane, I would take the most efficient as the crow flies route, right? That's the same with our goals or our business or any goal that we have in life. So the 3 steps to achievement are simple. The first one is clarity. The second one is commitment. And the third one is execution. Now, in KW, we tend to talk about clarity as our big why. I want you to throw that out for a second. That's not what I'm talking about in clarity. Clarity to me is the how. How do I do something? So if I want to make 100 grand in the next 6 months, how do I do it? Right? I'm in real estate, so that's my vehicle. Second, I know I have to probably sell at a $400,000 price point. I probably have to sell, let's call it, to do net $100,000, probably between 10 and 14 homes, depending on price point. At your price point, might be closer to 7 to 8, 7 to 9, let's call it, right? All right, so I'm starting to identify a how. But then what are the things that I have to do to get that how in an authentic way for me? Here's the fun thing about how. In this day and age, I know that 26% of the adult population has a membership or a monthly membership to ChatGPT. You ever hear that thing?
Use it all the time.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Then this is going to be great. So ChatGPT, 26% of the adult population has a membership. That's 62, 67 million people. There has never been an adoption at that scale in the history of mankind. I mean, it took 10 years for the internet to even halfway catch on, right? It took the iPhone 2-3 years to sell 10 million iPhones. I think even more than that. In 18 months, 50% of the population used in some way, shape, or form ChatGPT or an alternative. What that tells me is that hard skills have been devalued to zero. For example, figuring out how to do something has been devalued to zero because I can put that into ChatGPT and say, how do I earn $100,000 in real estate at a price point of $400,000 per unit over a 6-month period by leveraging my skill set. And it'll shoot me out a plan in about 30 seconds, probably less, 5, right?
Right.
I'm a huge advocate of a rule called the 90-10-90 rule. Tiffany has heard me talk about this 150 times, but poor John too, and Steven. But
I have it.
90% of the tasks that I give to the leadership team or that I am doing myself or that John's helping me with, I want to use an alternative of ChatGPT or AI in some way, shape, or form with a 10-minute deadline to 90% completion. So I know that the law of duality tells me that if one thing is devalued, something else is increased in value. So what is the alternative to hard skills being devalued? What do you think it is?
Service, hospitality.
Service, soft skills.
100%.
100%, right? So the differentiation here for agents is who can leverage to get the how, artificial intelligence specifically, or a tool, whatever you want to use, to compress the amount of time figuring out how so that we can spend more time in the most valuable thing that we have to bring at this point in society, let's call it, or in business, and that's soft skills. People don't pay for information, they pay for organization and application. So if I know that the first step to achievement is clarity, and that comes from my how, my second step to achievement is commitment. Commitment is where I'm going to test my why, right? And the reason I'm doing something against the how and determine whether I'm willing and to do it at a 10. Because I don't believe in commitment as 0 to 10, right? I believe in commitment as 0 or 10, right? So when I think about the hard or the soft skills, that's where commitment comes in. And then execution, that third piece, is skill set development and accountability. Because the more we do something, the better we're going to get at it. And we can never increase our knowledge in a faster way than we can increase our activity. because I can read every book under the sun on real estate. I feel like I have read a lot of them and still not be as good as somebody that's out there pounding the pavement and doing the activities of real estate every day. Right. So it's kind of like if I wanted to get better at golf, I can watch every YouTube video or Tiger Woods interview or blah, blah, blah until I'm blue in the face. But unless I'm out at the range hitting the ball, I ain't going to get any better. There's going to be a ceiling. So clarity, commitment, and execution. That clarity is going to come through AI. Now, the three other things that I want to talk about are the impediments to action. Understanding that there are typically three impediments to action: time, money, and skill set. So if I was to ask, and I've done it, if I ask like a agent that I'm consulting and I ask them, hey, have you adjusted your GPS or your 135 or your business plan, whatever the heck you want to call it and whatever you use? Have you adjusted that and done a review, let's call it a reset, to understand what's your goal? Where are you today? What are the obstacles, right? Based on what you've learned over those 6 months and what's your way forward? Most would say, no, I haven't finished that. Why do you feel like they haven't finished it?
Maybe they don't know what to do.
Yeah, they probably don't know what to do, and time. That's right, Lori. Probably time. Like Lori, Catherine, I know you both sell a lot of real estate, right? You both are pretty busy individuals from the standpoint of servicing clients and doing the 20% and doing the right things. If I was to say, and you both know, hey, I should reevaluate my business plan and understand where I am and track my numbers and do all these things. But you both know intrinsically that that's an important piece to the puzzle. It's also working on my business, and you're consumed by working in it because you also have to do the things in the business because it's just you. Well, great. So the impediment to action for most producing agents to do things that they know would help their business moving forward, but also aren't things that they see an instant result from, that is usually impeded by time. Right? Now, if I was to ask the same question to a new agent, they would probably say something along the lines of money or skill set. I don't know how to hold an open house like Catherine does or Lori does. I don't know how to leverage some of the lead pillars or have a conversation with somebody about why they should list with me and have me sell their home, right? That's a skill set problem. And they probably didn't have the money to generate lead flow potentially, or they didn't know what to do, right? Like Lori said, skill set issue, right?
That's definitely right.
Yeah, thanks. So I think it's so important that we first understand what the steps to achievement are and where we are in that journey. What has to adjust? Is it my clarity? That's my how, but we just discussed how easy it actually is to get the how with artificial intelligence or the infrastructure of Keller Williams. There's 1,500 playbooks out there that say, I want to run an open house. Well, here's 7 ways to run an open house that generate 25 people or traffic through my open house. Or, oh, I want to create a Facebook group. Well, there's 3 or 4 different models in one of the playbooks that tells me how to run a Facebook group or hobbies or whatever, right? And then there's agents in our offices and through the KW infrastructure that are doing some of those things and getting great results. The how is actually easier if we just open our eyes and are open to collaboration and not having to do it the way that we want to do it. As Tiffany would say, I always want to just recreate the wheel, right? That's a stupid way to do it, right? Whereas just talk to Catherine, who's doing it at a high level, and then adjust it to fit me, right? Now the how. But now I have to weigh, okay, where am I with commitment? Am I tired? Am I burned out? What is the challenge? Am I do I feel like I'm not doing the right activities? Am I hitting my head against the ceiling? Am I at that natural level of achievement, that E to P? Am I having an E to P moment? And that's usually the hardest thing for me. I hate E to P. It's a very challenging thing because I don't like systems at all, right? I don't run them very well. That's why Tiffany and John are in my life. And then I'm going to weigh my execution. Am I being consistent? Am I developing my skill set 1% incremental increase every day? Like, am I getting better by 1% every day? So I wanted to show one quick thing with AI. Let's see if I can share. I had a feeling. So to walk through this really quick. I went to AI and understood my how. And I wrote something along the lines of create me a business plan. Perfect. So I need 10 transactions, talks about the different conversion rates, gives me a weekly schedule. Now, I've done this with agents on a whiteboard by myself and just done the math, and it's taken 45 plus minutes. Now I have somewhere to start. Here are 5 different things that I could do, right? With metrics in certain days. So I've got SMART goals right here. I've got specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound goals that now to a 90% completion, that to now I can take this and I could even put my GPS from the beginning of the year in this and say, adjust this so that I can hit my goal by the end of the year. And now what I do is I take this and then I'll weigh it against the reason in which I'm doing it. Right? What are a couple of the ahas just from those concepts that you had?
I'm sorry, what was the thing you typed in there at first to get that?
The prompt I used, let's see, was, I'll share it again.
I'm sorry, I'm on my phone. It's hard to
No,
read.
that's fine. I'll just read it to you too. I wrote, create me a business plan to make $100,000 in real estate by year end with an average sales price of $400,000 per unit sold.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, that's all. Right. Now I've used this. I've put in, I did this at a team meeting where I said, is 123 Main Street overpriced? I used a listing from our office. Right. And it said, yes, it's a little bit overpriced. And then I said, what should the price be so that I can sell it in the next 14 days? And it gave me a price. Now, is it 100%? No, absolutely not. But it's way quicker. It's way closer to 90% than if I spent an hour or in 30 seconds than if I was to try to do it in 30 seconds by myself. Right. And it overcomes the impediment of time. It gives me clarity quickly on what has to happen next. And then I get to choose my commitment level, 0 or 10, based on the activities tested against the reason in which I'm doing it. And then my commitment to doing those activities, because a goal informs my activities. So what's another aha?
I think I need to ask ChatGPT to grow my database. What are best ways because I saw it said 100 contacts with your database in the next 30 days.
Yep,
Well, I know 3 people, so they're going to get really tired of me real quick if I do.
that's right. Yeah. So, and that's like, all right. So I love that, Catherine. So if I was to say to ChatGPT to grow my database to 100 people, give me 3, what's this? Let's make it a little easier on the thing.
It can handle it. It does everything.
Let me see. Give me. I'm going to try something authentic ways to grow my database to 100 people in the next 90 days. So it starts to give me some ideas, right? I love this one, community context. Maybe I go to the gym, meet one person each day, right? That's 5 days. That's 5 people. Or go into church on Sunday. Or maybe I have kids, right? So it's given me local Popeyes. Business owners is where my head goes to, right? Maybe I like to shop. I would go to a boutique and say, would you give me 25% off if I get 25 people here on Thursday from 4 to 6? And I'm going to bring some champagne and a couple of hors d'oeuvres and let my friends shop, right?
I like that idea.
That would grow my database by potentially 25 people. Now, maybe I only know 10 to invite, but do you think they know another person each? Right? Now I've got 20. That's where our original conversation of compounding my relationships came in, right? So, any other ahas there?
My last listing came from the gym.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you, Lori. That's where
Right.
I'm going to head. Maybe I'll go get a listing or something. Right. So I think we just literally we went from zero, right? Where, let's call it Catherine, I'm going to use you as an example. We're at zero with, she says, 3 friends. Now, all of a sudden, I have a starting point far ahead of where I was just 20 minutes ago with ideas, actionable ideas that I can implement after this call to go and get closer to that goal. That's the game. It's not about getting to the goal. It's about how fast can I get closer. So the last thing I do want to pull up to keep the cadence of this thing. So if I just look at June, so got to do a better job at this. So in Charleston, if I look at Charleston from a new listing standpoint, the Charleston market took 3,077 new listings last month, right? There were 530 when pending, right? 200, there's probably more than that, but that's definitely more than that. But closed 2,040, right? And price changes, there were 4,111. This is a big deal. More than 50% of the homes that come on the market in the Charleston market specifically, and this is true, and we did this in Charlotte too. Right, there were 8,759 in the month of June, that were decreased or had a price reduction in Charlotte. Right, 50% of the homes that are coming onto the market are overpriced. That's a huge deal, right? That's probably standards and expectations. By looking at this, and we'll make sure we do a better job of posting this daily for everybody and making sure that this number is right, because that's definitely not right. But now I can start to get an idea as to what are the trends. Like if I was to look here in July, I bet these numbers over the next 5 days come down, right? I also know that people still have to move. And there are probably going to be people that are so urgent in their need to move that are going to list with somebody that's working during this week. Right? I would guarantee there is not going to be a zero in Charlotte or in Charleston of new listings that come onto the market this week. Guarantee it. And the only difference to those that take the listings and those that don't is what? There's 2 differences.
Doing the work.
Doing the work is number 1. And number 2, they already did the work too. They were consistent with already doing the work. And they're going to continue to be consistent with doing the work, even though they're going to take time with their family on the 3rd, 4th, and the weekend. Right? So I love looking at these numbers because it helps me identify trends. I'm a big trend guy and pattern guy. So we'll get this to you as well and make sure that we're more consistent, us are more consistent getting this out. But I want to respect everybody's time. It's 9:01. Give me 2 ahas, one from each of you rather, as to what can I implement today to get me closer to my goal, my annual goal, or my 6-month goal, or my 3-month goal, or what can I implement today to make my life different in X amount of time?
I'm gonna go to ChatGPT because I have a listing that's been on the market for like 100 days and I cannot get we reduced it a bunch. Having open houses, and we're just not getting traffic, and it's because the seller's insistent on an open house every week, and I really feel like it's too much. But I'm gonna see what else I can figure out to do. I've got a flyer I've created to take to the hospital. It's like a mile and a half away, to all the doctor's offices. Say, hey, here's a beautiful house, been renovated. That could be a short commute for you to work. We'll try that. I did that in ChatGPT last week, so I'm working on that flyer. But I got to do something else because that house is just not selling.
That's
It's
all.
beautiful.
That, and then also ask it after you ask should this price be so that it sells in the next 14
Mhm.
days. Create me a plan to execute on the selling of this house in 14 days.
Okay.
Or write me an email to gently and authentically send to my client to help them understand why we need to reduce the price. And
Okay.
it'll start your process. Now, do not send that email to them. Look at the
Right.
email first, revise it, edit it, and then send it. How about you, Catherine? I love that.
For me, it's been writing a GPS and a business plan because I've never done it. My business has always just happened to me, and I've been very fortunate. But that is not going to happen here in the time frame that I want it to happen here. So I need to get more intentional. So having a business plan, I think, will help me focus better.
I love it.
I have
How
to
about
do the
this?
same.
Perfect. Why don't we do this? Why don't you both create that by the end of the week and send it over to me?
Sounds
Even
good.
until next week, I'm putting 1,500 flags out between now and Friday.
Perfect. Whenever your time frame works, right? But so send it over, and I'll just forget. I mean, I'll look at it, and then I'll give you a couple of ideas that maybe you could tweak, right? Or I'll say that looks absolutely awesome. What's taking you so long to implement it, right? So and that's probably what I'm going to say. But so shoot it over, and let's get to work. Thank you both so much for being
Thanks.
here. Was this valuable?
Absolutely,
Absolutely.
100%.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
High pack 32 minutes. You guys are the best. I'm humbled to be in business with you both. If you need anything, let us know.
Thank you very much.
See you.
Thanks so much. Loved it.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.